Mr. West was the founder of the Birmingham History Center. We still have a lot of paperwork with his footprint on it, or I guess thumbprint we should say, because of writing purposes.
Right.
We have items that he personally donated to the collection as well. And really what we're doing right now is, and I'm glad you called me, and this has kind of helped spur what we're doing now. My internal role here, my primary role here, is to go through the collection from Birmingham History Center and that we have accumulated over the last, well, it'll be 20 years next year, and kind of see what we have. That's essentially what I'm trying to look for. We have like a manifest or a ship log, if you will, of what we have, but in terms of after the museum shut down, it kind of seemed that a lot of things have been put in places that aren't located, that aren't labeled or located or something like that. So I'm trying to refine those and kind of rediscover the kind of items we have and kind of get those back on display. And that's the main purpose of what we're trying to do with their cases now. So we want to try to start highlighting more things from our collection that we've had that we've kind of not been able to in the past. So it's kind of, I guess, like a 20-year initiative. Try to do more things around here to highlight more stories, more items, get them back into the public's view and let them see what we have.
Elliot, my father, was born in Maryland. He went to Charlotte Hall, to military school, and he moved down here. I know that he wanted to go to some of the Ivy League schools, and Elliot Sr. Said, well, you'll have to pay for it. And so he said, all right, I will. But he ended up attending the University of Alabama, joined the Army, and back then they didn't have the Air Force, it was the Army, and so it converted. He wanted to be in flight school. He started out as a lieutenant because he had gone to Charlotte Hall. He had already had some military training, and that was undergraduate, and I think he played baseball, and he was a pitcher.
Oh, so we have an item referring, that's a newspaper article referring to
his father, because his father was with the Baltimore back in 1912, and he was a pitcher. Now he won 4 games, and one of those games was against Cy Young. So
all right.
Anyway, that's my grandfather.
So
he joined the Army in 1942, and as he went down to Montgomery to get his wings, he trained on the P-40, and while he was there, he got his wings, and then he was transferred to New Guinea in the 7th Fighter Squadron, 49th Fighter Group, 5th Air Force in New Guinea. And so that is where he was still flying the P-40 and had three kills. And then soon after that, he transferred over to the P-38, which is a more fighter, maneuverable plane, and he during that transition, he flew 251 missions, and when he was shot down, an aircraft carrier had shot him down, and after he had been in a dogfight with 4 other Zeeks, and he got 3. 2 were shot down in the sea, and 1 was shot down in a mango grove. And he was going after the 4th when an aircraft carrier shot his right engine out, and he had to parachute down. And when he hit the water, on his way down, that Zeke that he was after made a pass at him and tried to shoot him, but he missed. And so when he hit the water, he saw a bunch of coconuts in the water and swam over to those. All these ships were within sight, and it was very lucky that those coconuts were there. His wounds weren't so that he was bleeding a whole lot because of the sharks that were in the area. And there were 2 ships that came to try to find him. And when that happened, one left, the other came so close that he could see the people on the ship smoking on the deck. So night fell, and then he heard somebody coming towards him in a canoe, and it was the guerrillas from the beach, friendly guerrillas, and came in, and he said, Americana.
Yeah.
And so when he said that right there, he knew that they were going to be, it was fine. They rescued him. He got in, and the clothes that they made him were out of his parachute. So that's on display right there, the parachute and all the hat, the sandals out of bamboo, and they made all that for him. And through all this, part of his diet was like chicken and rice, and it was really good. They had some type of celebration. Now, I'm not sure because he didn't talk too much about that, but I know him. He's ready for a little rice wine anytime somebody's ready to serve it. And so there was some type of celebration that was going on, maybe celebrating that he had shot down those airplanes, or it was the time of year that they were having some type of local festival. And I know that he was in and out of huts, escaping from the Japanese patrols. Now, a lot of times the Japanese patrols were only about 100 feet away from them a lot of the times. I mean, 100 feet is nothing. And they were hiding in the jungle. He's wearing a parachute. He's not camouflaged. So I know that he ducked out of one of the huts that he was in, escaping, because they had come into the village. So, and through that right there, I was thinking that it was over several months that all this went on. But he went from village to village with a lot of the guerrillas, and various stops along the way to get back up to the north of Ormont Bay. And so through that right there, he made it back to his squadron and I think it was he flew some more missions and everything. I think that
I guess they give
235 missions total that he flew on before he was shot down. Now that was before he was shot down.
Yeah. Just there's a few things I would like to circle back on.
Sure.
So to kind of give a little bit more context and a little bit more, I guess, personalization to it. As a reference point, the Birmingham News mentioned that he to return back to his allies, that he had to hike over 40 miles to get back to them. And just as a reference, 40 miles is, that's a very large amount of distance to do on foot. So it's remarkable that he was able to get shot down, make it to Philippine guerrillas and be under their care for a little bit, and then make it back to his allies.
Well, he wasn't by himself when he did that 40-mile hike.
Yeah.
I mean, he was with people that took care of him, and the reason I think they held him in such regard is because he shot down 3 right in front of him. And so that's, and he was announced missing in action. And this was for over a year. They don't want the Japanese to know any type of information, or if he made it safe, they don't want them to know anything. So that's the reason for that, during wartime.
Yeah. Counterintelligence, as you will, which is interesting because during World War II that we had forms of counterintelligence, and we don't really see that. That's more talked about in the Cold War and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. Just another item I wanted to circle back on is they mentioned that the waters that he was in were shark infested as well. They also mentioned that he had to keep really still because he was bleeding, but he had to still trying to tread water. And when I say they, I'm referring to Birmingham News. He was bleeding, but he didn't want to move too much to attract something to him as well. Okay, just kind of.
And that's true. It was in the back of his mind when he went over there by the coconuts and everything. That probably he was trying to escape being seen. The next thing was the sharks.
Yeah.
Because they had ships that went down and people were in the water bleeding, and the sharks got a lot of people in the water.
Yeah.
So
I think, in terms of, let's talk more about let's focus more on the artifacts in the case right now. So you mentioned that the shirt and the pants were made out of his parachute, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then everything else, the hat, the bags, and the shoes was made afterwards when he was, or not afterwards, but in their care through various materials they had, such as bamboo and whatnot.
Yeah, everything's made out of bamboo, and the guerrillas didn't sew that. It was the women of the village that sewed that together.
Right.
And so he was really a hero to them because they had seen everything and they were trying to protect him and get him back to his base.
Right. So let's go over why he was considered the ghost. Because in the Birmingham News, under an editor remark, it says the ghost returns. So can we delve into a little bit more of why they called him that, and we know why Ormont, but let's go into more about why they considered him a ghost.
Yeah, they. This is a picture of his mechanic and him in a P-38 and his 3 kills. And then underneath it says Ghost of Ormont Bay, 1943. Well, not letting everybody know and keeping it a secret, they didn't let his parents know, family, anything. And so when he showed up on Lanark Lane, in English Village, he knocked on the door because the door was locked. His mother came to the door, and when she saw him, they thought that he was dead and gone because nobody had told them anything because of security. She fainted when she opened up the door, and she thought he was a ghost. And so, therefore, the ghost of Warmock Bay. But this is his home, and this is his basement, and this was his office, and a lot of these pictures were in there. And this is when they did the article in about 90. They've done several articles on him, but this is the hat that he wore, and here are the sandals that he has. And he, at this time, he had sold his insulation business and is now in promotional product advertising. And so, funny story is we were in a marketing group together, and he was trying to hire this guy, and I'm in the group with them, and I'm managing a tire store, and I said, I might like to do that. And he left before I could talk to him, so that's kind of how it all came. He was trying to hire somebody, and he could have hired me. So anyway, he did, and I trained with Ollie Cox, and he was a good friend of my father's. So that's how it all came about.
So let's start down here in the bottom. So let's talk about his, I'm going to call it a handbag. It's not as to the length of the shoulder bag. He did throw it on his shoulder or something of the sort. But yeah, let's just
I'm sure he did, and it probably had some of his survival kits and stuff like that right there. Maybe a knife, a gun, something like that right there in there, and probably some medical bandages. Not sure exactly what it had in it, and maybe that was the pouch that he had most of that in, but surely he had some clothes or something.
It would have held more of his larger items
Right.
while he was with them.
Yeah.
Right, and this would have been probably the smaller ones. Just quick things he needed right off the cuff or something like that.
And all of this is bamboo and things that are made from that. They all had this for him. They made him sandals, which are actually in good shape. All of this is really in good shape. The clothes that the women of the village made him were out of his parachute. And
I guess we can we allude to that from the stamping of the U.S. Navy issuing that to the aircraft or to him or something.
Right,
of the sort.
right.
Yes.
And so you can look at the workmanship. The workmanship is fantastic.
Yeah, they did a phenomenal job of taking
really
something as large as a parachute and breaking it down, and to kind of meet the dimensions of him so well. Again, this is during wartime, so I assume that maybe resources may be a little bit strained, but they were able to make him something out of his
Well, you can
items.
look at the collar and everything.
Yeah, it looks great.
It really looks great. So,
Absolutely. Same thing with his hat, made out of bamboo as well. It's in really good shape. I don't know if this is over time, but it looks like they made him a fold in it, so he could fold it up while he walked, so we could see, and then fold it back down.
Yeah, in case of the sun or whatever.
Correct.
Around.
Yeah. And then I think it's interesting if we're looking at the sandals that they even gave it a little bit of color in them.
Same thing, a little style.
Yeah, a little style. Same thing with the hat, with the the lighter and darker bamboo and whatnot. So yeah, I think overall it's it's a really fascinating story, and I'm glad that you brought it up to me and kind of made me aware of it.